Hello and welcome back to RamsTalkPodcast. And we're here today to talk about a signing, which doesn't happen very often at Derby. So this is very, very exciting. We're here to talk about Ben Osborn. At the time of recording, it's not 100% done. So it is there. He's had his medical. It's all come out. So hopefully it's sooner rather than later. But joining me today to talk all about Ben Osborn is someone who knows quite a lot about him. I've got Hal from Sheff United Way. How are you, Hal?
I'm all right. Jake, I've got to say, your name lends itself very nicely to the song Informer by the Canadian musician
Right.
Snow. Are you familiar with this song?
No, no. Give
Well,
us a
it would.
rendition.
So Jake Barker, you look about there's something back in there, or a licky bum bum there. You know that one?
I do actually.
Yeah, there you go.
I do. I tell you what, that's the best response I've ever had from an introduction. So
Good.
I appreciate that. So I've got some questions for you, mate. About Ben Osborn. As we said before we started recording, nice and easy. You should know all of it. Don't have to look anything up. So I guess the first question is, what is Ben Osborn like, and how is he perceived at Sheff United? Because I've got a mate who supports Sheff United, and he
Mm.
described him as being a player who runs around a lot, and that was kind of all he gave me. How would you describe him?
I thought you were going to say, what is Ben Osborn? Uh, just what is he? I like Ben Osborn a lot, and actually, I'm probably quite biased because Ben Osborn, our sweet prince, leaving us for Derby County, it irks, and it hurts my soul. It pains me because I relate to Ben Osborn, and I relate to him in the following ways. He's like me, and I don't mean in how I look or anything else, but if I had been a professional footballer, I'd have been like Ben Osborn because I remember playing football. I'm sure you do too. Just knocking about with your friends, it's not the same level, of course, but even in my groups of friends, I'm the Ben Osborn. I'm short. I'm left-footed. I always get picked to play in positions that I don't want to play in. I give everything, and that's where the similarities end because Ben Osborn is very funny on social media and seems very intelligent. So those two things I can't relate to, but the others I can. So as soon as I first saw him play for us, I was like, this is my guy. Also, a lot of fans, whenever you might feel the same way as me, but when fans gang up on a player and sort of say, I don't rate him, that's when I double down. That's then, okay, I need to back this guy. Because if everyone's, and I did this with Jack Robinson when we got him, and a lot of Blades fans were having a go at him. I was like, right, Jack's my new favourite. Ben's my new favourite. Whoever it is that's getting the stick, I will support them because I'm a contrarian, and also I genuinely don't like that. I've never liked that in my actual life. I'm the guy that sticks up against for people who are getting bullied, not physically, because they just bully me, but certainly when the bullies are finished, I would go up to that lad and be like, hey, well, that was, ooh, eh. Anyway, I've got your back. Again, not physically. So I like Ben. I like him a lot, and he'll always give everything. And Derby fans will appreciate that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, when you look at Derby and the way we play, running is a big part of it. Heart is a big part of it. Warren always talks about he wants the right people in the dressing room, and from that, I think that's a pretty good start. But I want to take you all the way back to what is it, 2019, when he's arrived from Nottingham Forest at Sheff United. What was sort of the reaction and the response when he joined?
I mean, very underwhelming because we'd signed quite a few players. A lot of players was maybe a bit of a stretch, but Ravel Morrison had joined us, Lise Mousset, Callum Robinson, Ollie McBurney. We were Mo Besic. We were thinking about other players that were going to be the main ones for that Premier League assault. Ben Osborn was a bit part player in that ninth place Premier League finish. Sure, he played his part, but he wasn't a regular. And I felt like he was bought as a Swiss Army knife, a utility player. He can fit absolutely anywhere in this side. Should we have an injury in that? We played three in the middle. Should we have an injury on that left central midfield position? He can slot in there. Should we have an injury at left wing back? He can slot in there. Should we want to go 4-3-3? He can even play left wing. He offers so much. Should we want to go four at the back? He can play left back. He offers so much, but that's actually to his detriment. That kind of versatility has meant that he's never been Mr. Knuckle down a position. He's been Mr. First choice off the bench.
I mean, you've mentioned a lot of different positions there. Which one do you think suits him the most?
Well, his best form for Sheffield United was under Slavisa Jokanovic. He's the only player that did have their best form under Slavisa Jokanovic because it didn't work under Slavisa, and it was never going to. Slavisa wanted to change too much too quickly, but he did find that Ben, because he's a player that will respond to a manager that needs you to give everything. Ben does that, and if you trust Ben Osborn, he will reward you. And Slavisa was the first manager at Sheffield United that had gone, well, you're starting, your first name on my team sheet. So Ben performed for him, and he played him left wing, and sometimes he was the furthest forward, and it was incredible to see. He would be getting on that left-hand side and whipping crosses in. He's got a great left foot. His right foot, forget about it, but his left foot really is something to behold. He's a far more technically gifted player than many give him credit for. A lot of Sheff United fans will not be concerned about losing Ben Osborn at all. I am, because I recognise his ability, and also when we have had a squad that is now decimated, and I mean we've just hardly got any professional players, a versatile player that can play in multiple positions suddenly becomes even more valuable.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you mentioned there he's got a good delivery. Something Derby like to do is have people on both sides, different feet when it comes to especially putting balls in from set pieces. I mean, we're a big set piece team. I think we scored something like 30% of our goals or 40% of our goals from set pieces last season. It was a huge amount. Got a good dead ball on him.
Yeah, and actually we didn't utilise his set pieces anywhere near enough. I mean, he's got really good delivery. He can cross a ball. Every time we did put him on set pieces, I was like, why haven't we been doing this all season? Sometimes they didn't work, of course. You're going to get that with even the best. But I think he's got a really nice set piece on him. And a few other areas of his game as well that might surprise you. I mean, don't have him anywhere near throw-ins. The Blades fans that will remember when him and George Baldock got involved in a bit of a throw-in altercation, which I think the ball ended up bouncing off his face. Ungainly. But apart from that, yeah, he's very good at set pieces. Oh, and penalties. Get him on penalties. Absolutely fantastic at pens.
I was going to say we don't have a penalty taker at the minute with Conor Hourihane going out, another ex-Sheff United player, isn't he? So yeah, that'll be interesting to see if he steps up for them. And I mean, we talked about when he arrived and the sort of the feeling when he arrived. You said you were a little bit underwhelmed. Did it take a little bit of time? Obviously, I think was it 2 promotions he got with you in the end?
Yeah, it probably was.
Yeah, 2 promotions. I mean, he seemed to play a bit more of a role when you played in the Championship. Did it sort of take going down to the Championship for him to sort of put himself in the team and have his best form?
I've tried to work out if it was now. Yes, we just saw more of him in the Championship. I don't know if it's his best form. I mean, realistically, I think left wing back is probably where you'd want Ben Osborn. I was quite happy with him in left side of central midfield as well. You know, he sort of looked all right there. But he never really got that. Certainly under Heckingbottom and Wilder, never really got complete run of games. And we'd go into matches not knowing if he was going to start. And if he was starting, it was often a case of, well, who's injured? And I felt that was always difficult for Ben to show what he could do and to really deliver. You need a run of form, don't you? And any player does. And when he did occasionally have runs in the side, I was always quite impressed. He also had a few unlucky moments. There were times when the first choice would get injured, Ben would come in, Ben would get injured. You know, just bad luck. And he had odd injuries off the pitch, injuries on the pitch, just bad luck. And it just never, I think he'll look back in his time at Sheff United and probably go, it never quite worked out as it should have done.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at his sort of best moments, I mean, you said under Jokanovic was probably his best form, but what was his sort of best moment or best moments overall? I always find that interesting. Was there ever a moment where you looked at him and went, "Wow, what a player"?
Oh, a lot. And it's hard for me to pin down one because there's so many times when I felt that, you know. And as I say, I'm sort of biased. But what happens often is with a player that's much maligned, you go into the games and you start watching them. And you go, right, I'm going to like this guy and I'm determined to like this guy. And it's like anything, you know, like people who are into like conspiracy theories or whatever. They'll start reading things that match their narrative rather than lots of things that are against it and pick that as the thing they sort of focus on. So that's probably what I did with Ben. I probably was watching him really closely and slightly ignore maybe 1 or 2 errors and just focus on his good game. So very rarely can I ever remember going to a Blades match and coming away going, Ben had a bad game. I was always thinking worst he'd be 7 out of 10. And that's probably what you can say about Ben. He is a consistent 7 out of 10. I really do think he's consistent. I really think Rams fans will love watching how much he gives because he's got grit, resolve, endeavour. He will always give you everything. Crunching tackles. He's also not one to complain either. If something goes against him, he just kind of, unless it's, I'd imagine in a derby against Forest, that'll actually be, if you get him in the cup or something, that would actually be really tasty because, of course, he used to play for them. I remember him playing for Forest against Derby and getting wiped out. With a real,
Jamie Hansen.
And he had every right to complain that time. It'd be fascinating to see what he did because with us, he very rarely did that sort of thing. He just kind of got on with it. But there was 1 or 2 occasions when he got annoyed and riled up. And if you check out his video of him throwing like a little kettle pot over his house, that's fantastic.
I'm going to say I'll have to go and have a look after this. But it'll be interesting with Osborn because he is a boyhood Derby fan, which is weird when he sort of came through the academy at Forest and played for them for so long. So I don't know, maybe some more emotions might come out when he's playing for his boyhood club. But no, it's interesting. Definitely interesting to see what he is as a guy. And I guess that is my next question is, you've mentioned he's a funny guy off the pitch and seems to be the sort of person you want. Is that him? Do you think that's genuinely him? Because you see some players sort of have a bit of an act. Do you think that is actually his personality?
I think he's intelligent, and I say that not just because of. Okay, I want to put this in a way that doesn't make me sound like it's just hard to say it without just sounding like an absolute idiot head. But he spells everything right on social media. His grammar's very good, and there's no way of saying that without sounding like an absolute idiot. But anyway, he is good at that, and it's not always a given with footballers. He does his coaching on the side, and so he's already started thinking about the next stage, which shows an intelligence. He writes in a way on social media which so many people take the wrong way. If you have a look at comments on Ben Osborn tweets historically, he's clearly writing. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's being sarcastic, or he's noticed that the zeitgeist has gone in a certain way, and he's going against it. Very, very funny videos with his friends that he's done as well. He's just different. He's got a personality, and I really like that. And he's not afraid to be who he is. He just seems like he's got a sense of humour, and I think he's really popular in the dressing room. And that might, 2024, do people care? I think you should. I think he will bring something to the Derby County dressing room, which will only be positive.
That's good to hear. You don't see too many footballers with personalities nowadays, do you?
He's really got one.
Yeah.
And I remember actually, I can't remember who said it, but one of our wonderful content creators, Tufty Club, picked up on this recently, that one of our players said when they were asked who's the most intelligent, they said, Ben Osborn, I once saw him reading a book.
Wow, the bar is low. Oh, it really is. I mean, we've touched on sort of the good aspects. He's got a great left foot. He's a decent technical player. He works really hard. Are there any aspects of his game that could need a little bit of refining?
Oh, gosh, it depends who you ask. I mean, a lot of Blades fans that don't rate Ben as highly as me would give you a list as long as your arm. And, his right foot's not very strong. Sometimes his first touch lets him down. Sometimes he can play the simple pass rather than go for the adventurous defence or splitting diagonal. Fine, maybe his crossfield pings aren't like Oliver Norwood. Sometimes his crosses can be wayward, but with any player they can be. At left back, I think he looks suspect. He's not good in the air because he's, in my opinion, a great height for a man, but he is quite short for an athlete. Fair enough. His haircuts have sometimes been suspect as well. He's probably not very good in goal. Otherwise, set pieces, wait till you see it. If you get a chance to YouTube a single Ben Osborn penalty, the guy takes the roof off every time. So even there on his weaknesses, I finish on a positive.
No, I love it. And I think it's interesting with Derby because we're more than likely going to play a back three, which means he's more than likely going to play at wing back. So what you've said basically is very similar to the players we've got on the right-hand side. We've got Kane Wilson, Joe Ward. And Joe Ward, his whole game is he's got a great right foot. He puts balls in, he creates those sort of chances. And I think it's quite exciting from a Derby perspective that we'll have players on either side that can do that. I think going up into the Championship,
you're going to be good.
It's difficult. I won't go that far, but it's gonna be a difficult season for us. We used to play in Stevenage at home, and all of a sudden we're playing like yourselves, just coming down from the Premier League and teams like Burnley, even Luton. 2 years ago we'd have gone, oh, Luton, nice. Whereas now we're like, oh my god, Luton. Which
you still got cash in though, right?
We do still have cash in. Yeah,
you guys are going to be fine. You're going to be absolutely fine.
Well, I hope you're right. You talk about players being defended. He was one of the players that I had to defend at the start of last season because people criticised him, which is, in hindsight, crazy, isn't it? But I just so we've gone through when he joined. We've gone through his time with you. You sort of mentioned it a little bit at the start, how you felt about him leaving. But I just want to hear your thoughts on how you felt when you heard that he wasn't sticking around at Sheff United and he might be heading to Derby.
I remember where I was. I remember what I was doing. It was actually co-host Nick who woke me up with a WhatsApp message. He'd sent me a few before about, I bet you're loving this, and it was a collection of tweets that Ben Osborn had written whilst on holiday, which were very funny.
I've seen them, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I am loving those, but I'm more annoyed that he didn't choose to holiday in Cyprus, which is where I live. But I was actually really gutted because we'd had a bit of to and froing with Ben. We'd had it first reported that he was not going to be offered a new deal. Then we'd had it reported that he was going to be offered a new deal and he was going to sign it. And then we hear he's going to go to his boyhood club, Derby County. And I can't begrudge him that. I want success for Ben. And I don't think Ben would mind me saying this. I've had conversations with him and I have said to him before, you deserve to go somewhere where you're appreciated and get regular first team minutes. And I think he'll get that at Derby County. And I want that for him. I wanted that for him at Sheffield United. And I did everything I could to try and make that happen. But it just wasn't to be. Good luck, Ben.
Well, I was just going to say one final question. Do you think he'll succeed at Derby?
There's no question. As long as he doesn't get injured, he will give 100%. And you as fans will appreciate that. Everyone does. Now, of course, not every Derby County fan will like Ben's special brand of football. They might see his limitations and find them too frustrating. There'll be others that see that whilst he isn't perhaps the most gifted footballer, he's not skillful, but they will see that what he can do, he does well. He will always try and be positive, and he will always try to do the right things. He's an intelligent footballer. That's why he's going to be a good coach. He will go on. In fact, we'll probably be talking about in 20, 30 years, Ben Osborn being one of these coaches that everyone wants. I can really see that. He's already doing all those hard yards in the background and studying. I just think he's going to be very good at that as well. So yeah, Derby fans will love him. I'm not devastated because a lot of my family support Derby County from my sister marrying a Ram. It just happens we've taken that side of the family in. So I'm not devastated that he's going to Derby County. I wish him well. I don't wish you guys too well. 7th. That's fine.
I'd take like 14th, 15th, 16th.
I just don't want. Yeah, I just I've been to Pride Park so many times and seen Sheffield United lose. Sometimes on freezing cold nights when the game shouldn't have even gone ahead. I've seen us win as well. I remember you beating us when you'd not beaten anyone forever, and I think we took the lead, and you managed to finally win a game after you'd had that awful Premier League season and you'd gone down. Oh, terrible!
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was a while ago now.
A while ago, but they all still count. I remember them all, and there's been a lot of players that have played for both Sheffield United and Derby. A lot, probably more than many other, if not any other.
I'm going to say you've still got Jaden Bogle, haven't you? Is he still contracted?
Yeah, we've still got Jaden Bogle for now.
Okay.
Who knows?
We'll see. Right, Hal, thank you so much for coming on. I genuinely really appreciate it. For people listening, where can they find more of you and the team?
No Derby fan wants to watch Sheff United Way content. Well, look, if the video, if you want, stuff I do is generally slightly off the wall and never too serious. So if you fancy that, Sheff United Way, podcast audio and also video. I would say I'm better viewed on audio podcast.
No, I love it, Hal. I love it. Right. Thank you so much, Hal, for coming on. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe. We'll have more of these for every signing that we make. And yeah, please rate us highly on Spotify, Apple Pods. We've had loads, so very grateful for that. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you very much, Hal, for coming on.
Cheers.